welcome back to the Trevor Report. Let's jump right on into it. China has opened overseas stations in the US and Canada to monitor Chinese citizens. Now, this is obviously not going to be used to monitor Chinese citizens. They are putting in their police force to monitor non-Chinese nationals. There is no other reason for this. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not going to apologize. This is beyond a shadow of a doubt a complete affront to national sovereignty. And what should happen is that the President of the United States says, okay, these overseas police stations have a week to vacate everything they need and go back to China, because regardless, I will blow these to sunder. That's what needs to happen. But this is the Biden administration, and so that's not going to happen, because, of course, a bunch of things are happening at once right now over the weekend. Or not over the weekend, but just throughout the week. Kremlin dismisses stupid claims Russia attacked Nord Stream pipeline. It's not out of the ordinary. The U.S. has done false flag attacks before. All major countries have done false flag attacks before. This is so stupid. You are either on the side of Russia is completely innocent in all regard, or you are on the side of the U.S. is innocent in all regard. Obviously, this is not true. This is geopolitical politics. It is far more complicated than morality would have you see it. And all you need to do is pay attention. And, well, thank you for taking your time to watch this video, for paying attention. Now, since this attack on the pipeline, no one is saying that this was an accident, and if you look into it, it doesn't seem like it was an accident. No one involved is saying no one involved was saying that it was an accident. So, Ukrainian military intelligence claims the risk of Russia using nuclear weapons is now very high. We are now in nuclear war because a militarized frozen wasteland wanted to take a corrupt oligarchy, and the entire Western world was like, wait, you can't do that. We need this corrupt oligarchy or whatever, which, like, fine, they produce a lot of fertilizer or whatever, but, like, we have the American frontier. The American frontier can provide for whatever we need, whatever. I've already said this before. All previous reports linked down below in the description. But the corporate press was really talking about nuclear war, obsessing over nuclear war. Okay, opinion. The age of predatory nuclear weapon states has arrived, and it's this huge, this is really lengthy article, kind of. It's like, okay, it's a 5 minute read, but the TLDR of it doesn't need to be a 5 minute read. It could literally be one sentence. Okay, this entire article, and it could be countries with nukes can leverage the fact that they have nukes in order to get territory, which that's the entire 20th century for the United States. But fine, whatever. And that's exactly what Putin said, too, mind you, that the U.S. used nukes, therefore we can use nukes, which, from a geopolitical perspective, it's bad for the United States. Well, it's bad for everyone, but, it's still a good point on his part. He's morally justified in the same way that the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were justified in the historical sphere. He is making a sound argument, but it's not what the corporate press would have you believe. But honestly, even Russia today, okay, and this is, by the way, the corporate press left and right, but even Russia today is like, well, we're probably not going to do this. Now, I've been informed by my betters that Russia Today is a Russian state propaganda outlet. Okay, fine, I'll accept that premise. But there's this article by Sergei Politaev. I don't pronounce other languages very well. But regardless, if Russia Today is a Russian propaganda outlet, all right, well, Russia propaganda is saying we're just saying we're gonna do it. But honestly, even if there is a nuclear war, no one survives. Your bunker will not protect you for very long. You got to get out of the nuclear bunker for resources eventually, unless you're fully stacked. But even if you're fully stacked, you'll run out of resources eventually, and the world that is left won't be able to provide any resources for you if all the countries of the world, with all the countries' nukes, like had a full-on nuclear war with one another. No one would survive, and there wouldn't be a planet with any decent resources, and it would be like this for hundreds of years. And well, at that point, especially if it'll be more and more difficult to find a mate, and that's just the end of the human species. So either there is a nuclear war and everyone dies and the dead don't have regrets because they're dead, or there isn't a nuclear war and everyone goes about their day. Now, I don't have a bias towards normalcy because, unfortunately, I like to suffer and I've read too much left-wing theory, but the part of me that is biased towards normalcy, as it were, is like, well, this just seems like there's some kind of distraction. I'm going to spend some time on the weekend seeing if there was a story that got buried under this news, but it doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. Keep in mind, New York Times, American propaganda outlet. Pentagon plans to set up a new command to arm Ukraine. Officials say, fine, we're going to war. Like, we have all these resources pulling into this country. Like, we are going, like, this is a war no matter what. If it's a nuclear war, well, it sucks to be the human race or any other species on the planet for the most part, except cockroaches. But, if you worry about it, if you worry about it for years and then nothing happens, well, there wasn't a point in worrying about it. If you do worry about it and then something does happen, well, you died. Hopefully, you hopefully died quickly and you didn't die of radiation poisoning, because that is a slow, painful death. But yeah, I'm going to talk about how no one in the United States trusts the United States anymore. Like, it's gotten crazy. This is a poll from Gallup. Okay, in 1979, all right, peak Cold War. All right, the Vietnam War just ended. Right, we're going into the Reagan administration in the decades to come. The 1994 crime bill, the wars in the Middle East, 9/11. There was a 2%. After 9/11, right, the year after, when it went from 42% trust to 41%, and then it soared a little bit, and then it massively tanked around 2008, 2009. All right, 2008, 32% of people trusted the government. All right, then it seems like Obama got elected or whatever, 34% of the people trusted the government, and then it continued to tank, and it rose a little bit around the time of Trump's presidency. 2016, it went from 31% to 34% trust in the government. In 2019, it was 32%. And then in 2020, when all the mass Karens showed up, it rose to 36%. But now it is at 27%. It's taken decades, but no one trusts institutions in the United States. And I'm tired of people asking, well, why don't people trust American institutions anymore? I'll answer it for you. For one, there's the internet, and lies basically can't propagate anymore. Okay, well, lies can propagate, but it's harder for lies to propagate. Okay, if the corporate press said 2 + 2 = 5, you don't have to believe it anymore, because there is an infrastructure that exists now where you can be a part of society without having to agree with the corporate press that 2 + 2 = 5. Because that's an absurd proposition, but that's where we're headed to, right? There's also the fact that Illinois basically stopped enforcing crime. It's going to be implemented in 2023. They've just stopped. Second-degree murder, kidnapping, robbery, burglary, arson, aggravated DUI, aggravated battery, drug-induced homicide. It's just not going to enforce any of these things. It's just not going to do it. Just not going to do it. Now, why would you enforce any of these things? Then you have Joe Biden. Now, this post has been fact-checked, which sucks. But, it doesn't suck for me because I have a thoroughly decentralized social media presence. So, I don't really get my news from these institutions anymore. But there's a hurricane going on in Florida right now. I'll cover it on Monday I'll cover it on Monday, as it were, so that I can, because with major events like that, I try to wait, but nevertheless, Biden said the best thing you can do to prepare for a hurricane is get vaccinated, and I don't know how that correlates. But then again, I'm not a senile old fool who shakes hands with thin air, so, And then when it comes to rising oil prices, because oil is expensive because of the decisions the Biden administration has done that has restricted the oil supply in the United States, right? He's blaming in September, well, 4 days ago, right? He's blaming he's blaming gas stations for the prices. Now, gas stations aren't in full control of their prices. No one who sells physical products is in full control of their prices. They have to make a profit somewhat on their products so that they can buy more products. If the products are more expensive, then they need to raise the prices so that they can keep buying the same supply. Okay? And gas stations running out of gas is a problem for everyone. And, supply, demand, basic economics, but Joe Biden is a senile old fool, and that's honestly that's me giving him way too much credit, because if you think about it, and I've covered this in previous Trevor reports, but the Biden administration, has repeatedly said that Biden does not speak for the Biden administration. It's very weird. It's incredibly weird, but it keeps happening. Okay, and then the White House digs in on Biden's gaffe about dead Congresswoman. Okay, a couple months ago, he acknowledged the death of some Congresswoman, and then today he was wondering where she was, and the entire press apparatus swooped in to defend him, and the White House swooped in to defend him. The cathedral, as it were, and it's very creepy. It's very creepy seeing this work played out the way it is. But it's not just the way the institutions come together to protect and destroy people. It's the people within these institutions. Now, I saw this video, this clip going around, okay? And it's this journo right here and a bunch of Latino people who are just kind of like, hey, we're voting Republican because we want to vote for people who share our values. And this guy just doesn't understand. He's like, but you're a minority. You're supposed to vote for the correct people. It's like they don't care. They care about values. But it's not just that. There is the way I highly recommend you go to the show notes. Okay, click the link. Okay. It should be let's see. It should be the first link under segment 4, and the only link under segment 4. But there's just this way that he carries himself, and the way that the audience, I guess, or the people he's asking questions, the way they carry themselves. There's just a difference in character that you can see. I don't know how to I don't know how to describe it, but it's just really strange to say the least. It's like I can hear or feel the sort of presence of just someone who just isn't authentic. I can see it in his eyes, this journo's eyes. I could see it in his stature, the way he carries himself. He's rehearsed this, whereas everyone else in this audience are being authentic. They are saying how they feel about particular things. Now, this journo obviously works in media, and there is some sort of preparation done in media. The Trevor Report is not scripted at all, and that's done purposefully. Okay, but it just gets to a point where I just want some authenticity. And I know the people who are authentic, and I know the people who aren't authentic. And it's just getting to a point where I've been around so much deceit that I can just tell what is deceit and tell what is not. At least if I can look at them and hear them speak, I can tell. and that's just kind of where I'm at this point. It's probably not healthy, but anyway, moving on to the final segment. There's this guy called Franco Aurelio. At least I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. And he's a pop artist or whatever, but he went Christian, but not just Christian, he went Catholic. Now, I'm not Catholic or anything, but I respect the grind. He's taken all of his music or whatever, and he's put it back on the shelf, right? Like on his Spotify or whatever. He's brought it back, or at least a significant portion of it, to his Spotify, and he's redone the lyrics, and he's talked with a preacher or whatever. He's done a music video for his thing. He is an independent artist, and you know what? More power to him. I'm not Catholic, and I don't like pop music, but if I see this coming around and I see that it's of particular quality, I'd like to share this with my audience. Okay, so if you think that there's anything of the sort, feel free to DM me on all platforms at This Is Trevor. But anyway, in the meantime, my name is Trevor Brown, and you've just watched the Trevor Report. Do click the Linktree down below in the description that I was forced to make because Linktree banned my previous Linktree for opposing black nationalism. Made my new one. It's down below in the description. Check it out.
Acropolis News. News from the Acropolis.